Hello everyone, I hope you all are enjoying. And I would like to say to Hartirat Singh, who is doing such a noble work, हमारे पंजाबी में एक saying कही जाती है, जो तुत भावे साई बलिकार, तू सदा सलामत निरंकार. So I think भगवान के साथ उनके लिए हम सब भी साथ में और भगवान भी साथ में. तो हमारे सेशन को मॉडरेट करने आ रही हैं रुचिरा शर्मा, जो है एंकर एंड ऑथर CNBC TV 18, and she has been ex-NDTV author and anchor as well. Next we have with us is Arjun Bajoria. He is a president JK Tire Industries. I'm sure आपने टायर्स की तो बहुत अच्छी एड्स देखी होंगी और आप लोग हम अपनी गाड़ियों में तो ज़रूर यूज़ करते हैं. तो we have with us Arjun Bajoria. Give him a huge round of applause. Our super senior. Sir, please come on stage. Oh, sorry, Arun Bajoria. I'm really sorry, sir. और ये वो हैं जिन्होंने डॉक्टर बनना था, लेकिन इन्होंने तो फ्रॉक का डाइसेक्शन हॉस्टल की डॉर्मेट्री में ही किया था. And then he realized he don't want to become a doctor, and then he worked hard and became a CEO of MR Group. Let me welcome Amit Jain. Okay, I'll wait for him and do his introduction again. Then we have with us पान सिंह के नाम से जाने जाते थे ये, और ये सुनकर आपके होश उड़ जाएंगे कि इनके पापा ने ही किया था इनकाउंटर पान सिंह तोमर का. और ये हैं हमारे ध्रुव सिंह चौहान. So सीनियर्स इन्हें पान सिंह तोमर बुलाते थे क्योंकि इन्हें स्कूल से छुट्टी मिली थी जब इनके पापा ने पान सिंह तोमर का इनकाउंटर किया था. इनके फादर को एक्नॉलेज किया था भोपाल में. अमित सर, मैंने आपके लिए कुछ लाइनें लिखी हैं, मैं दोबारा बोलना चाहूँगी, आप यहाँ पे थे नहीं. ये वो हैं जिन्होंने डॉक्टर बनना था, लेकिन इन्होंने ही तो किया था फ्रॉक का डाइसेक्शन हॉस्टल की डॉर्मेट्री में. और फिर इन्होंने रियलाइज़ किया ये तो भाई हमसे ना हो पाएगा. और इनके एक अंकल थे जो कि CEO थे और उनको देख के इंस्पायर हुए थे, और इन्होंने सोचा कि मुझे तो ऐसा बनना है जिसको सबके पास जाए. और he has become CEO of MR Group, which is the construction company of Burj Khalifa, one of the tallest building. And he's come all the way from Dubai.
The tallest building.
The tallest building, Burj Khalifa. I'm sure we all have been there.
So I just want to tell you.
Yes, sir.
Just introduce me as a dacoit. So nothing about where from I am or what I am doing currently. तो वो भी बता दो, नहीं तो सोचेंगे.
Yes, sir. जरूर. मैंने कहा कुछ interesting किया जाए क्योंकि so he's from my industry, so I'm honored to have him right in front of me. So Dhruv Singh Chauhan is actually a chief business officer of Raymond Group.
Thank you.
और हमारे बीच में नेक्स्ट हैं जिनकी एक कहानी मैं आपको छोटी सी सुनाती हूँ. हॉस्टल में हम लोग सब पे से फ्रूट तोड़ के खाया करते थे और हमें अलाउड नहीं हुआ करते थे. मैंने तो बहुत आम तोड़ के खाए हैं और जब पकड़े जाते तो बहुत बुरी पनिशमेंट मिलती थी. तो ये वो हैं जिन्होंने इमली का पेड़ से कुछ तोड़ा था, उनके सर पे आके लगा था, तो इनको बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग सी पनिशमेंट मिली थी. यहाँ पे पत्थर रखो और खड़े रहो. किस किस को ऐसी पनिशमेंट मिली है मुझे ज़रा याद कराना. मुझे तो मिली है कि मैं अस्ताचल में 4 राउंड लगा रही हूँ सुबह. तो आई एम श्योर इनको मिली थी. और ये हमारे बीच आने वाले हैं. इनका नाम है सिंधियन हरी अग्रवाल, फॉर्मर CFO सिकोया कैपिटल इंडिया. Thank you. I'll give it over to Ruchira Sharma. 2 of the panelists could not make to the panel due to personal reasons. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Anushka. Thank you for the introductions. And we have a very esteemed panel with us here. So thank you so much for taking out time from your hectic schedules and being here to support SOBA and our Indian spirit. So before I begin, I would like to ask all of you, how many of you are familiar with the term VUCA? All right. Everybody? Okay, so tell us what is it, anyone? Volatile. Volatile.
Volatile. Uncertain.
Complex, ambiguous.
And uncertain. So yes, so VUCA is the acronym that we use to currently define and describe the operating landscape for businesses. And we have some highly accomplished leaders from the world of business. So our aim today is to learn from them and understand how businesses can operate in the current landscape, what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, what does the road ahead look like, and in the current times, how can they survive and thrive. So I will have a quick round of questions and then we'll open it for you all. All right, so Mr. Arun, I'd like to begin with you. The pandemic, of course, unleashed a crippling effect on economies and businesses suffered hugely due to that. So what was your biggest learning post-pandemic?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me over here. And yes, during pandemic, all of us have experienced absolute dislocation, disruption. And I would say that first of all, during pandemic, we started looking after our people, because that was the most important thing. And so many people, their close relations or whoever, they passed away. And at that time, talking about manufacturing and all was not at all a good thing to do. So first of all, we tried to settle down our people. And thereafter, once we took care of those people, in fact, even today, almost more than 100 people are being taken care of in terms of education of their children, whether they are blue-collared or white-collared. And for the next 5 years, we have decided from the pandemic to continue with their wages or salaries, and we are going to take care of their children. We are going to take care of the families' health needs, and we have told them that if this is not enough, they can again come back to us. So this is one thing that has happened. But I would say that even in VUCA times or pandemic, there are two evergreen approaches. The first is that you have to be really, really efficient, most efficient, I would say. And the second thing is that how do you become most efficient? You have to be the lowest cost manufacturer. In anything that you do, I'm not talking only of tires, but any manufacturing or any activity, you have to be the lowest cost manufacturer, because that it will really take you and be able to compete. So I would say that this was the most important thing. And the third thing, that customer centricity. See, ultimately, if you are able to manufacture goods efficiently at low cost, and if you are able to go to market and keep the customer at the center, then you've made it.
All right. Coming to you, Mr. Amit, you're present in 11 countries. So if you take a global perspective with the current war and the supply chain disruption and the fear of a looming recession, soaring interest rates, there are multiple challenges for businesses. So what was the biggest challenge that you faced post the pandemic, and how did you overcome it?
So I think for us, the biggest challenge was that how we can get the resources back. I think we had a very simple mantra. The mantra was the 3 C's. The 3 C's is customer, communication, cash. Just concentrate. For real estate, don't worry about profits, nothing. Just 3 things: customer, communication, and cash. This is the most important thing. In such an uncertain environment, people do not know what to do. People were not coming back to work. The customers were worried. Customers were worried, they didn't know what's going to happen. You go out to them, you tell them, don't worry, we'll be with you. I'll give you a simple example. Our retailers in mall, Dubai Mall, the biggest mall in the world, the mall closed in pandemic. The income there are like 60,000 people who work in that mall every day. The income stopped. Mm-hmm. We went to each and every of the retailers, said, we're with you. Until you get your income, we'll not take any rent from you.
That's a wonderful thing.
So it's, this is what we have to do. So these are the gestures that one has to do and go back to the customer saying that we're always with you. I'll give you also very simple example, although it's not not COVID related, but today when we have to do marketing, we're not doing marketing in normal way. We went out to our villa owners. We said, we'll paint your villas for free. The guys are surprised. This is the first time real estate company is coming and saying, boss, we'll paint your villas for free. So, wife is asking, are you joking? Is there a camera or somewhere or something? So but we actually painted the villas for free. Trust me, 30% of our existing customers bought again. Today, Emaar has 50% of the market share in Dubai, and this is the reason because we always believed in going back to the customer. Customer is key. I've told also my staff, if you have to take a decision, just ask yourself 2 questions. First, is it right for the customer?
All right.
And the second, is it right for your company? If the answer is yes, do it.
Great. Thank you.
That's all. Keep it simple.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Very interesting. And actually, companies need to be empathetic going forward. I'd like to bring you in. Raymond's, of course, has been with us as we've grown up, the symbol of a complete man. So how did you meet that your long-term financial goals during the pandemic, and what was your learning while dealing with the changing customer needs, and how did you make your strategy customer-centric?
So, pandemic was really a challenge, and when you have the stores shut, and when your reach with the consumers, at 20,000 point of sale stores all across, 1,400 your own, and what Amit stated, the malls getting shut and everything, you virtually are at a standstill. And as a company, if I would say we are virtually, plus 9 decades up. We have completed 97 years. We're going to be 100 in 2025. So we've seen all world wars to everything coming in, but this was something which disrupted entirely. What we basically did at our end was just to tighten our own belts at our own end, because everything, if it is zero, then how to build it up was where the contributions of the employees, everything came in together, and we withstood that 2 year of challenge. And the biggest challenge for us was our customer, not the consumer alone. Consumer were not coming in. We have customers, when I say, is trade channel related. They were the ones who were really suffering hard, and they've been there for the last 7 decades. Their 3rd and 4th generation are aligned with us.
All right.
So holding them to that level was something which was a challenge for us. That's where we kind of stood. And today, in the last 5 quarters, we have bounced back. Like you stated, we are virtually 100% known across this country, and that's what we are very fortunate of, the brand Raymond. And that's also the reason anything we get onto, even the reality on Amit's area, we are virtually rocking that part also of the business. And it's just a 1-year-old business for us, but still, already clocking about 1,000 crore. So the brand has been very strong, it's still strong, and it's speaking volumes with our performance in the last 5 quarters. Yes. So virtually, we have taken care of our consumers and customers at that point of time. And the way we give our propositions of the product and everything is coming out well. And that's what we're seeing the positives coming in.
Great. So congrats on Raymond Realty coming up. Mr. Hari, I'd like to bring you in here. 2022 was a landmark year for venture capitalists. And global data states that India witnessed a massive 39% year-on-year growth. So what was your learning here post the pandemic, and how do you think you can structure this market, which is a little unstructured?
Sure. I think as we kind of stand today, I would say there are about 128 unicorns in this country. I don't know if you know this number and how many of you know this number, but that's a large number, right? Number of unicorns. And a lot of money actually has been kind of flowing into India. And unfortunately, all dollars are green. So, there is a lot of good money, there's bad money. There's all sorts of money which is kind of flowing into India. Unfortunately, not every business is getting funded, because the business actually has to get funded on its own merits, right? So the business ethos, the business model, everything is very important, right, from that perspective. So it is the business model that is going to get funded. It is not about just starting a startup. So there could be 50,000 startups that have actually come into the country, but it is the business model. And right now, actually, there is a lot of I would say cautiousness that has kind of crept in the VC space in particular, where people are actually not funding as much or as freely as they were kind of doing a couple of years ago. But yes, of course, I think a lot of businesses have actually kind of gotten transformed. They've actually kind of shifted gears. People have kind of pivoted from what they were doing before to make sure that they're kind of on track. And as kind of Amit said, like cash is a very important component. It's a very important resource. So you need to conserve cash as much as possible, and kind of make sure that your kind of cash runs much longer than you actually anticipated.
All right. So India is also a very intriguing market. The IMF has called it the shining star of the global economy. So I'd like to ask you, Mr. Amit, tell us about the ease of doing business. You're present in so many countries. So how are you viewing India, and has RERA made the market more transparent? Are you more optimistic about India?
So I think, see, first I'll start with saying that I think real estate in India is probably the biggest opportunity one can have. I'll give you a simple example. Today, China has 60% urbanization. US has 80% urbanization. India, 35%. So we're talking about the level of opportunity where even if we reach the Chinese stage, we're talking about almost doubling the urbanization. So the thing is, if you're talking about doubling the amount of real estate projects that will come and need to come to India to have that growth, it's going to be humongous. I mean, think about the cities will have to be double. Are they happening? It's happening more now because of RERA has come in. RERA has solved a lot of problem in terms of comfort, in terms of people know that there is a regulation that will probably give them their rights if the project is delayed. RERA, at least you know that the money is going to be in an escrow account and can be used only for construction. So it provides a lot of comfort. Is it the easiest markets to operate? I don't think so.
All right. It's a complex market.
And at least not real estate. And ask me, who has to come to India every month just to solve my problems, but not my company's problems. So it's, but yes, it's growing, and it's a democracy, end of day. I mean, the thing is, I cannot compare a Dubai market where I can make a call and I can get all my licenses and nobody will ask me anything, etc. It's India. End of day, democracy operates in a particular way. And yes, it's not easy, but I think it'll get easier because it has to get easier. RERA is resolving a lot of issues, but the opportunity is huge. At this moment of time, I think real estate, if somebody wants to get into, is a great opportunity. If somebody wants to buy real estate in India, I think that's one asset class that's going to be very good because the country needs it. So it's RERA. I think if we can also ease the government approvals, that's going to even facilitate more.
All right. Mr. Arun, coming to you, ahead of the union budget, the Prime Minister also hinted at more reforms which can make, increase the ease of doing business in the country. So tell us about your learning, your experience, and what are the kind of reforms that you're looking forward to?
Look, I would say that already the latest budget that has come out has announced a lot of capex investments, green initiatives, and further ease of doing business. As an example, the GST, which was introduced a few years ago, has completely wiped out, in a way, the problems that were happening at the toll taxes and the state borders. So this kind of thing is bound to ease the business happenings, as my colleague was just mentioning here. So ultimately, you see, you can take the case of digitization. In India, I think this government, and mind you, I'm a businessman, I'm not representing any political party, but they have really pushed the digitization, which had started much earlier, to the extent that today digitization is going to have a very major imprint on, for example, automotive manufacturing and automotive components. This digitization started with the music industry and the media industry. So that time, you remember how you had the long playing records of 78 RPM and 45 RPM, and all that completely vanished, and now it's all on the digital imprint. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this is going to bring absolute revolution, transformation. It's already happening in the automotive industry and parts making. And as an example, I would like to tell you that in digital marketing and the digital means, we used to take 7 days to settle a claim, 7 days. Today, in a 2-3-wheeler tire, we are doing it in 15 minutes.
All right.
So that is the digitization that is happening. And similarly, in a car tire claim, you don't have to come to any of the depots or any of the company authorized outlets. You can just punch in your thing, go to the website, and there are use cases fed in. The person on the other side will be able to decide, and either he has to give you a free tire or he has to give you a proportionate mileage refund or whatever.
Sure.
Is all done in less than 1 hour.
All right. Mr. Dhruv, how have you digitally connected your supply chain, and how are you using the latest new age technologies to deal with the supply chain disruption that we faced?
Right. So I have to give you two perspectives to it. One is the textiles perspective, which is the oldest industry we have across the world, wherein every industrialist today, or the old industrialists, they started with textiles. So it's such an archaic one that it comes from a time when I talk about customers also attached with us for the last 7 decades and all. They've all been the Bhai people. And the complexity of textiles per se is extremely high. Because if I tell you as to how the fabric is made, right from that fiber to everything, the way it is dyed and coming out, it's very difficult to map it up end to end on the production part. But what happens is, on the finished product part, for sure, there's a digitization which has happened very strongly because the stores are all connected with that. And that's where we have taken very strong initiatives, where all our stores connected, omni-channel introductions done, and digitization the way it has been done up. Everywhere the product part is known to our the central point, because it's very essential for us to meet up the expectations of each consumer and customer, and as an industry, we have to be very proactive on our introduction of the products, at least the finished product part when it comes to the consumer. So we need to keep a tab all across, and that's where we have done that integration. But integrating it from the back is a big challenge for us, and that still we are fighting hard. Although we've got our big companies who are trying to solve it for us, and recently we are trying to integrate our production part of it linked up. But then still, miles to go for us in the sense, with all this GST and things coming in, it is very essential for us to integrate the entire thing. That is what we are doing it. But I mean, we've been able to manage to a great extent, but apparel front is where we are able to manage better. At the technical textile front, it's very difficult for us to manage.
All right. I'd like to bring you in, Mr. Hari, here. Digitalization has, of course, impacted a lot of industries. And in the first 6 months of 2021, there were 15 startups that became unicorns, of course, funded by firms like yours. So how has the new age technology impacted the space? And also, why do you think the investor community is still treading very carefully when it comes to funding these startups, and many of them are tech startups?
Sure, I think that's a pretty interesting one. I think digitization is a necessity, it's not a choice. And in fact, and this kind of, pretty much kind of relates back to maybe, early 2000s when, a lot of companies in the US kind of, said, if you are not in India, and this was, the BPO era, a lot of companies in the US and the rest of the world kind of, said, if you're not in India, you need to be there. It's not a choice, it's a necessity, right? So I think it's the same thing right now, where it's a necessity to be kind of, available, on the digital medium. It brings in a lot of efficiency. A lot of people have actually been able to kind of, manage their supply chains much, much better. They've been able to kind of, manage their customers, their cash flows and everything else, in a much, better manner than they were doing previously. So going back to, the funding aspect that you kind of, touched upon, Ruchika, I think, see, being a unicorn does not mean you are there. I think what it means is, I would kind of put it differently. I would say that, the focus on you is actually much more. I mean, if you have become a Shah Rukh Khan, you have to stay there. I think staying there is more important than getting there. So, and how do you actually kind of, be agile and be kind of nimble and stay there? I think staying power is more important than just, getting there. And I think in today's environment, we are still seeing a lot of unicorns actually kind of slipping. And and I think, the way I kind of think about, the journeys of some of these companies, and I've seen them, from, various, avatars, over the period of time. These are typically, they move in orbits. So where, you kind of, are a startup, you kind of, jump the next, you kind of in a pre-revenue company, you're in a kind of, R&D mode, and then you kind of, move to the next orbit, which you start generating, you get your first customer, and then you start kind of graduating and moving into the new orbits. So what you're doing is actually you're becoming more stable and more kind of robust as you kind of change orbits. But then some of these unicorns, they've actually kind of gone to pretty much a very high orbit, like a orbit number 10 or 11 or whatever it is, right? And I think staying there is much more important, because when they fall from there, the fall is really going to hurt you. So I think it's much more kind of difficult to kind of stay there than to kind of get there. That's the point that I want to make.
All right. Mr. Arun, the auto industry has also been a front runner in digital transformation. There are more and more product innovations that are being spurred by new age technologies. So how are you embracing the new trends?
As I just gave an example of customer service, which is one of the most outstanding services that have improved by digitization. The second is in the transport industry. Now, the trucks that were moving and people, we would not know where they were. The global positioning system has really, really revolutionized. And now, JK Tyre, for example, has introduced a smart tire, and also they've introduced puncture guard. Now, first of all, the smart tire. It's the most outstanding innovation that has been put into the market, where online, on the dashboard, you can know about the temperature of the tire, about the air pressure of the tire. Most of the accidents on the roads, there are two reasons. One, of course, very, very high speeds, but the second one is insufficient air pressure in the four tires. So this was the route from where we started, and today I can assure you that if you have a smart tire device which is called TREEL, T-R-E-E-L, TREEL, then you are absolutely guaranteed that you will not have any bursts, tire bursts, and therefore no tire accidents due to the air pressure differences or whatever. So that is what I can assure. And the digitization, therefore, has really worked wonders for JK Tyre.
All right. We'd like to, of course, acknowledge our chief guest, His Highness Jyotiraditya Scindia, who's just graced us with his presence. So we'll just wrap up this discussion and we'll have you on stage, just about 2-3 minutes more. So just coming back to you, Mr. Amit, let's talk about leadership dialogues. How are you preparing the workforce within your organization to become leaders of tomorrow?
So I think, see, the workforce, like Mr. Atul mentioned, the efficiency is going to be very important. The way we work is going to change completely. I mean, we've heard about ChatGPT. Today you can get your essays from ChatGPT. The students don't want to go.
And PPTs and content writing, everything.
Yeah, you can even get your poems.
Yes.
So the thing is, I think the world is changing on how the thing is going to work. But as world changes, the resources also change. I mean, I remember when we started working, there was no email. We used to have pigeonholes where people used to put paper to get those papers, and we used to read them. Today, it's so fast. I can answer and take a decision within like 5 seconds. So the thing is, the world will change, but what will happen is the production will go up. Today, we have a $10 billion of sales. Tomorrow, I can achieve with the same resources $20 billion. The question is how I'm going to do it. And that is where we have to get our resources ready to embrace what is going to happen. Again, I'll give you a simple example. In India, a real estate project takes 4 years minimum to complete. You know how much time it takes in China? 15 months.
Wow.
15 months. We are way, I mean, not like Dubai is very front. It takes probably more time over there, but the world is changing completely. We have buildings which are made of steel panels that are getting completed in 25 days. That is the business we're going to enter into. Our resources have to start thinking that way. Even what level of resource education we give, that is also have to be reflective of that the world is going to be completely digital. I mean, are you going to be relevant tomorrow? Maybe I have to go and play golf after 4 years, but that is what is going to be. That is the problem today. The problem is think today what's going to happen tomorrow, and that is where resources have to be ready, our plans have to be ready, and we have to think today that if everything is tech tomorrow, what are we going to be doing? And we have to get our people ready. So what, I was talking to Ravi as well, we're actually thinking of getting into affordable housing.
Yes.
That's going to be the biggest center in the world.
And it's a big market in India.
It's a huge market. You know how much? 3 billion people in the world need affordable housing today.
All right.
Think about the value of those affordable housing.
Definitely.
I have to get my team ready today to be able to do that. So I think that is what is happening. So again, it's the thought process, it's the resources, it's how we get educated, and how we can get those resources even trained to be part of this is what we have to think today to be relevant tomorrow.
Sure. So we need to wrap up now. So just one quick word of advice to the next generation of leaders. We can start with you. That's it, and then we will wrap.
Sure. No, I think I would just say that especially in the investing industry, the number of badges that you see is actually far less than the stabs that we have on our backs. So, and you kind of have a lot of kind of lessons, and that kind of make you stronger. So, I think you will continue to make mistakes. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, I would say. But there are two types of mistakes that I would kind of warn you against. One is a mistake that you seen anyone else make. Don't try to kind of think that you are smarter than that. I think a mistake is a mistake. You can learn from it and try to kind of do something slightly differently so that you are covering yourself and kind of covering the risk. So that's one mistake that you should avoid. The second is so a mistake that you've kind of made before. The second one mistake is the mistake that you've actually made before. That's absolutely unpardonable. So you should not be kind of making the same mistake again. And I would encourage you to make mistakes. Please go ahead and make mistakes. Mistakes make you stronger. Mistakes make you courageous. And go make a new mistake that no one else has ever made again.
Sure, thank you. Mr. Arun, a quick sentence, quick word of advice.
I would say 3 things. One, believe in yourself. Absolutely. And second is believe in the company you work for, or whether it's your own company. And the third, believe in the Almighty. And for that, believing in yourself, I'd like to say a few small 4 lines. खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना, खुदी डेस्टिनी, खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर के पहले खुदा बंदे से ये पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है.
This was actually Mr. Mehta's favorite shairi. Actually, Mr. Mehta was a geography teacher, and this was his very favorite kind of shairi. Yeah.
All right, that's great. So one line advice to the next generation.
Yeah, I think do what makes you happy. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about success. I've reached that level. I'm telling you, I've looked back and see a lot of things. I've lost touch with people. I've not kept in touch, etc. And I regret it. So I'm telling you now, it's okay. Success, in 3 years they say, boss, success to apne aap aa jayegi. Don't worry. Efficiency ke piche bhago. So it's be happy, guys. Whatever you do, whatever gives you most happiness, just go after that. And don't worry about money. Don't worry about success. Success is not important. Happiness is if you get happiness, you're the most successful person.
Thank you. Mr. Dhruv, just one sentence from you, and then
I can only say that disruption is here to stay, and obsolescence will be always very high. I would say be flexible, be nimble, be agile, be proactive, and stay foolish, stay hungry.
Yes,
That's what I can say.
that's the word of advice. Thank you so much. These were the lessons of leadership for all of you, and that's how businesses can thrive, survive, stay agile, and stay relevant. Thank you all for an insightful discussion, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before you all go, we would just like to present a token of appreciation from our side. I would like to call upon some Sindhian wives to hand over this from our behalf. Deepika Singh to Mr. Dhruv, please. Deepika Kumar. Sonika. Yeah. Dr. Meenal Kolte to Mr. Amit Jain. Sonika. Noorjahan. To Mr. Bajoria and Tanisha. Tanisha, please come. Yeah. And one to Ruchira also. Please let me present it to Ruchira.